documentary so much. It was so touching and moving. We'll get to that in a second, but what do you think of our interview with Bernie? What do you think of Bernie?
It's strange to suddenly sit in Senator Sanders' seat. I'm usually on the other side of the table asking him questions. Look, I think he's, he's doing better than anybody when he first entered the race, doing better than anybody probably ever expected.
Right.
And look, he's given Hillary Clinton a great run, and I think it's great, whoever you support, I think it's great for the process to have candidates, competitive race on both sides of the aisle. It makes all the candidates, frankly, better. It makes Hillary Clinton a better candidate.
Well, they said that he's pushed her more to the left. Do you agree with that?
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, she's taken a lot of positions that are much closer to his positions and done them often, against a lot of expectations.
You said you're sitting in the senator's seat. You're used to being on the other side. I know you've moderated presidential debates, and you had an interesting exchange at a town hall meeting with Donald Trump when you pressed him about Ted Cruz's wife. We want you to all take a look.
Yeah. After saying that you were going to spill the beans about Heidi Cruz, you retweeted an unflattering picture of her next to a picture of your wife.
I thought it was a nice picture of Heidi. I thought it was fine.
Come on.
I thought it was fine. She's a pretty woman.
You're running for president of the United States.
Excuse me. I didn't start it.
Okay,
I didn't start it.
But, sir, with all due respect, that's the argument of a 5-year-old.
I didn't start it. No, it's not the.
Yeah,
no, it's
the argument of a 5-year-old is he started
You would say that.
Okay,
how do you keep your cool? How do you keep your cool, Anderson? I would have ran across that table so quick.
That's what he does for a living. That's why that's what you have to do.
There has to be a moment where you're like, are you serious, dude? How do you keep your cool like that?
It's not my job to judge people. My job is to present people with facts and challenge them on facts. And so, in that statement, I do think this, saying he started, I do think that is the statement of it's a statement of a child. And I think there's nothing wrong with
It's like, I know what you are, but what am I?
Right.
12.
But look, look, I think Donald Trump has brought a whole lot of new people into the race and gotten people interested in this presidential race long before a lot of people. I mean, the number of people watching these debates is huge, to paraphrase Donald Trump. And so, again, whether you like him or not, or whatever your politics are, it's brought more people in the process, and I think that's good for our democracy.
Absolutely.
Can I ask you, is it fascinating to interview him? I've never had the opportunity.
Is
it just like you're waiting to see what can he say next?
Look,
I just imagine
I give him credit for showing up for interviews. There's a lot, we would reach out to Ted Cruz all the time, never get a call back. A lot of candidates are like that. Hillary Clinton is a tough person to book, or has been up until recently. So, I mean, she still is, but I give him credit for giving interviews. He talked to the New York Times for, I think, 100 minutes talking about foreign policy. I think they said that was the longest any candidate has talked to them.
Well, that was when I realized he didn't know what he was talking about.
Well, you can argue whether it's good for him to be showing up like this or not, but I give him credit for showing up.
So, I know that you have a big social media following, and you're on social media a lot, and we were talking about this, about how you handle trolls.
Yes.
What do you do?
I've evolved on this. I used to sound like a politician. I've evolved. I mean, I used to occasionally somebody would annoy me. If somebody said something factually incorrect to me, like, oh, you just said this on TV and I did not say that, I would then read their entire Twitter history and I would respond to them by going deep. I would say, like, so, perhaps you should, if they tweeted a lot about, like, cinnamon muffins, I would say perhaps you should spend less time making cinnamon muffins and more time actually paying attention to what's happening. I like to go deep on people.
Time-consuming.
It was very time-consuming. Life is too short to be doing this.
Do you even respond now?
I don't. I try not to respond.
Do you look, though? But people want to. Do you look?
I do look. It's hard not to. I mean, I think it's good to get constructive criticism. So I do read people's responses, and I like the conversation. I do try to respond when I can to people.
What about when they just insult you and they're so evil?
If it's somebody who doesn't have the guts to have their name or a picture of themselves, I don't respond. If you're arguing with, like, an egg, I find that
that's different.
Do you block people?
I don't block people. No.
Do you mute them?
Because blocking rewards them. All these trolls want to be blocked. And then they put it on their Twitter feed like, oh, this person blocked me, as if that's a sign of power or something.
Oh, really?
You know what you should do? Do what I do. You retweet them, and then you send all of your fans to drive them crazy, and you just go do something else.
Calm down, Beehive. Calm down.
She sounds like Donald. That's what Trump does.
Beyonce's
You're going to talk to me?
My mom always tells me this saying, which is by a guy named McLaren, who said, be kind because everybody you meet is fighting a great battle. And the times in my life where I have not lived up to that are the greatest times of regret of my life. So I try to be kind because, look, everybody is fighting a great battle, even the trolls on Twitter.
Okay. Here, one more time now. We want you to stick around. because we want to talk about that wonderful mother of yours. So we'll be right back with more.
So are you man enough to handle The View next week?
Hello.
Funny, iconic, strong, talented men. Woo! Plus, we're jumping into the tank with these sharks.
Just moments ago, we were a little surprised to hear that Joy is Bernie's crush. Actually, I'm not your irresistible, so how could Bernie resist you, Joy? But do you have a celebrity crush?
Well, I would say Sonny because I'm sitting next to her.
Thank you. Thank you.
But,
But if you weren't sitting next to Sonny, who would it be?
Well, this is embarrassing.
Okay, nobody's watching. It's actually, just kidding.
I'll say mine if you say yours.
I ran into Nick Jonas at the airport a couple weeks ago. And I gotta say,
I was going to say, Anderson,
he gave me one of
Sonny is not on your team.
he gave me one of those bro hugs, which I gotta say are so unsatisfying.
It just
I
went the
wanted to linger
appetite.
a little bit. There was no lingering.
That I was maybe his celebrity crush. Anderson and I, of course, worked together
Yes.
on CNN
We go
for
way back.
years, and he's always been wonderful to me. The one thing that was interesting to me is, even though we worked together for years, I never Googled people, so I didn't know Gloria Vanderbilt was your mom. And the first pair of jeans that I bought
Is that right?
were Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. I saved forever to buy them, and I had to have the ones with the V on my butt.
Sure.
But your mom, Gloria Vanderbilt, has been famous since she was born
Yeah.
into one of America's wealthiest families in 1924. And at age 10, she was the original poor little rich girl during a scandalous custody trial.
Right, she was taken away by the courts from her mother and given to her aunt. And it was, at the time, it's called the trial of the century.
Yeah.
It was a huge, huge trial, and it really has kind of shaped her life. And we wrote, when my mom turned 91 last year, she got sick for the first time. And it made me think that when my dad died when I was 10, I grew up believing that maybe he had written me a letter that would show up when I turned 18 or when I turned 21. And of course, there wasn't any letter. But I didn't want to have that feeling with my mom. I didn't want there to be anything left unsaid between us. And so we decided to start a new kind of conversation. And it's the kind of conversation I think a lot of people would like to have with an aging parent. And a lot of parents would like to have with their adult kids, basically trying to get to know each other in a new way as adults before it's too late. And so that's what the book, The Rainbow Comes and Goes, that's how this book came about. It's the conversation my mom and I had over the course of a year about her life and about my life.
Yeah,
and it changed our lives.
It's a beautiful movie, and it's a touching book also.
Yeah.
But some of the revelations about your mom, she had relationships with Howard Hughes, Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra, Marlon Brando. You're being kind by saying relationships. Some of them were like one-night relationships.
Well,
You know what I mean?
She was a gorgeous girl.
She was
a real beauty.
Yeah,
of
she was
your
Gordon
mother.
Parks.
But,
Gordon Parks,
she-
amazing photographer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, oh really? And Stokowski, who was like a father.
Leopold
really.
Stokowski, he was 63. My mom was 21 when they met.
But
and,
she seemed to have really loved him.
Oh, she totally loved it. You know, it wasn't like, and my mom had a lot of money back then. It wasn't like some young person going for a rich guy. It was kind of, you know, I don't know what the attraction
Can we say daddy issues?
Maybe, yes,
Okay.
well, I'm sure.
So, but she also reveals that when she was a teenager, she had a lesbian affair. Was that shocking to you?
Totally shocking. I had no idea. I was like, you're 92 and you're still like revealing things to me.
Yeah.
In fact, she says she wishes she was a lesbian because all her greatest friendships are with women. And she's like, she actually said to me the other day, some people just have all the luck, like, you know. But she's nice. When I came out to her, she, you know, and we write about this in the book. You know, she says, I said to her, you know, I'm happy that you accept me. And she said, I don't just accept you, I rejoice in the fact you're gay. I wouldn't want you to be any other way.
And you should have known that when you were 12, probably, right?
I did, yeah. So.
At the end of your film, you have this incredibly touching scene.
Lost like my dad and my brother, as you said, killed himself, and he killed himself in front of my mother. And so this is something which, you know, it changes the course of your life. And we don't talk about loss much. You know, people get nervous talking about grief and loss. But, you know, oftentimes when people, you see on television, people use the word closure. There is no such thing as closure. It's such a silly word. You know, time moves on and things heal, but the wounds remain. And so that sense of loss is something I've always felt in my mom. And, you know, I think it was important to include in the film visiting the graves and talking very freely and openly about loss and grief, because I think it's part of the human experience.
Right. Thanks so much for coming on the show and talking to us. And Nothing Left Unsaid premieres on HBO tomorrow night. And the book, The Rainbow Comes and Goes, is on sale now, and members of our audience are going home with a copy.